All right. Can I go ahead? You're not ready. You give me the, go ahead. No, there were no minutes. I was trying to make a list. We have to approve them next month.
Okay.
Mhm. I tried to make a list of things. And okay. And I missed that one. I kind of pulled out my notebook after the fact. So, okay. So I'm going to call a meeting to order. If we could have a roll call, please.
Yes. Trustee Robinson,
Here.
Trustee Giroux,
Here.
Trustee St. Germain,
I'm present.
Trustee Herbst, Trustee Pomponio.
Okay. Thank you. We will stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And then if we could have an approval for the agenda, please.
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any further changes or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any public input tonight?
No, there's not.
So consent agenda.
So I have a question here. The minutes weren't live linked, so
Correct.
Correct. So those will not be, we'll put them on the next month's meeting. I apologize for that.
So we'll remove F1 as for part of our consent agenda.
would that change our motion to approve the consent agenda?
It would be the motion would need to be to approve the consent agenda items 2 and 3.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the consent agenda items 2 and 3 and address the other at the next meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with items 2 and 3, and we will approve the April minutes at the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Reports and recognitions.
Yeah, so I have the accreditation on there. I just wanted to give another thank you to everybody who put in on the accreditation, all that effort that went into it. We had some flying colors come out of that, so some very positive things. We're waiting on our final report. One of the things I think that stuck out more than anything, I think you guys that are here were in on that Zoom meeting that we had, and basically communication was something that kept bubbling to the surface of some good communication. In fact, some over communication sometimes, but I'll take that as a compliment. And then also trust came up a lot. So that was good, just having the transparency and trust. And that felt pretty good overall and all of it. So as we get into the details, those were some pretty big highlights that we're pretty proud of. So thanks everybody for doing that. There's a lot of work went into that over the last 2 years.
Great. Is it official, or when will we find out the official ruling?
So unofficially, yes. I mean, they have to turn it into the state and they have to give us their official report. They said, what they say, 3 to 4 weeks, I think they said, to get it to us.
Mhm.
But yeah, basically it's a done deal. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you, administration, everybody.
Yes, everybody.
Okay. And then building reports. We did make a correction for the elementary building report, so that's been
Yeah,
removed.
yes. So
Mhm.
and that one was the wrong link on that. And I'm not sure. It was one that I got sent to me. So maybe she just shared the wrong one. So
Mhm.
we'll get that updated. And then I know the child nutrition on the program reports, having trouble with that link, but I think I got that corrected.
Oh,
So
you did?
You can give
Okay.
it a shot.
Hey, that looks better.
Ownership rights, you know.
Mhm. I love seeing her pictures.
Yeah.
Always fun ways to make fruit and vegetables look good. Let's see. I guess part of those building reports, just to clarify the plan for graduations.
Yeah. So Mr. Lee, would you care to share your graduation plans? And I believe, yeah, that would be great. Go right it. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Definitely share that.
Yep.
All right, so for our graduation plan, it is going to be outdoors again. We feel like that was most prudent, and we got a lot of positive feedback last year when we had it outdoors, with last year being limited capacity. This year, we are still going to have squares for the families to sit in, so that there will be some separation there with the family sections. For any overflow, we're probably gonna have people bring their own chairs. We don't have enough chairs right now to facilitate the outdoor, but we're going to have that segmented behind the squares. It's going to look similar if you were able to watch that when it was posted on YouTube, where the students will start at the opposing side bleachers, I guess you'd call it, on the football field, and then do the march down the middle, and then come up. And so thankfully, Russell and his team have agreed to continue to do the YouTube and the Facebook posting of it, so they can be watched live for those family members that can't attend. We're on our way. It's a lot. We have that. We have prom coming up, which of course that's a big deal. A lot of these kids haven't had anything like that. That is also outdoors, in case you weren't aware of that. That's being held at the golf course. We have more chaperones than we normally would, just because it is being held in outdoor capacity. So just to monitor student locations and help with the Grand March and do all those kind of things. The students have been a big integral part of planning that. They did a presentation for Dr. Garrett and myself, just of how that's going to look, and getting that going. We appreciate the support of the Orofino Golf Course. They've really stepped up and helped us out with that. So yeah, graduation is off and running. We're going to hand out caps and gowns at our awards ceremony night. So to get their caps and gowns, they'll come at 5:30. We'll hand those out. Those that are getting awards, stick around. Some can stick around even if they're not getting an award, just to watch that. But that'll be a neat event. A lot of really great scholarships coming out. We do have a new scholarship this year. It's the Scott Scholarship, and basically it's $5,000 to the recipient, and they get that $5,000 for 4 years, as long as they're academically achieving and maintaining the credit requirement of, I think it's 12 credits on that at a state institution. And so that's a huge one, because they're going to pay that all 4 years, and they're going to do that for every cycle of kids. So potentially, if the kids are following through, or excuse me, the young adults are following through while they're in college, they will then have, $20,000 of scholarship money going out to our students. The thing I really liked about that scholarship is it's not just for students who are 4.0 or higher, dual credit. Really, they wanted to look at students who are potentially maybe first generation college, who really can benefit greatly from those funds. And so we've already chosen the recipient of that. That's going to be wonderful to have. Kiwanis has been a great support on the scholarship program. They are, Kiwanis is, I don't know if the right term is dissolving a little bit, because they don't have the same membership as they normally would. And so they're taking the funds that they've put aside for scholarships and allowing us to hold that with some contingencies on that. So they're allowing us to hold that at the building level. We're going through a contractual process so that it still has the Kiwanis name. We still have the same selection process for that scholarship. But that's over $50,000 that they have that will continue to push those scholarships for long period of time. And so award ceremony, got National Honor Society coming up. There's a lot going on.
So I can fill in for Mr. Hunter here a little bit. He's unable to attend tonight. So their graduation is at 5 o'clock on the same evening, and they are going to stream it on Facebook. And then there's a pixel art system in their gymnasium. They're going to have a more traditional, I guess, inside, which Orofino's tradition is becoming outside. So I like that as well. Yeah, it's been known to. That's okay. So we'll be broadcasting that as well. So be looking for those links as well.
So Timberline is at 5 o'clock. And what time is Orofino's?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep. There'll be a little driving to do.
And did we just, if you get a chance, whatever board member wants to attend, sometimes it's one or all board members are always welcome to attend. And then if there's anything a board member wants to say, just let us know so we can make sure we have that outlined on the agenda for the evening.
Thank you for filling us in.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions about anything?
No.
Okay. Chris, did you have any questions about anything else?
Not for building. No, I do have some questions for programs. So.
Okay, go ahead and jump in then.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. So Michael, do you know on the food pantry, the once a week, I know we had talked about maybe being able to leverage Coast and Innovia funds for transportation of food this summer. Do you know if there's any interest in that at the district level?
So no, I don't have a solid answer on that. I know just like we're still struggling for drivers, so I'm not sure how that will work out this summer. But I can certainly find that out and get back to you guys. So yeah, it's something that I know with the program. I know Carmen, we talked just a little bit on our, not even sure when we all met, but we talked about just a little bit about the interest in that. And I think, if we can get a way to get the food out there, but we'd have to have a centralized location, I think is the main thing. The drop off will be a little bit more difficult, but it's something we can certainly look into.
I'm sure that the Innovia Foundation would be thrilled about being able to leverage the senior meal grant that they gave to help
Right.
youth and families in need. So
Cool. Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm happy to do anything there. And then on the technology, do we always give Chromebooks to all the graduating seniors, or is this a new thing?
It's something we started last year, right, Russell? Would you like to go into any more detail about that? Yeah, here you can. Russell's going to comment on that.
So last year was the first year that we did that, and there's basically not end of life, but they have had those Chromebooks for 4 years. So they're issued a new Chromebook in grade 9, and if they've stayed in the district, they'd have 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then we can surplus that because we just keep issuing new Chromebooks in grade 9, expecting about a 4 to 5, 6 year life out of them, depending on the grade. So that has allowed a way to kind of an additional reward and a send off for students who are graduating. If they're going on to any kind of post-secondary training, they'd have that device to be able to use. And so it just kind of took care of a couple of issues that we had and made a great sending off for our graduates.
I thought that was a cool thing, so I was curious. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Russell. I think hopefully it will help the students take better care of their Chromebooks as well, if they know that it's theirs in the end. One can hope. Yeah.
There's always hope. When all else is lost, there's always hope.
Okay.
And then on the transportation, the one thing I was thinking is there a working group or a committee that I could be involved with to help brainstorm some things? I noticed that Mountain View in the newspaper advertised a bus driver training program workshop, and it got me thinking that I wonder if regionally we could partner or begin to facilitate conversations across the board, amongst boards,
Mhm.
to come up with maybe some ideas. To
So-
do
Yeah, so those avenues we have been exploring and currently exploring, we're open to about anything right now, but it's not just a local district problem. It's a nationwide issue. You can drive in any state anywhere and you'll see buses with signs on them saying they need drivers. So we've been very fortunate up to this year, and it just kind of circumstantial, and it usually ends up being feast or famine. And we just got to continue to peck away, and hopefully we can make some connections. So yeah, we have talked about, and I know Ben talks about that as well, connecting with his regional people, and we're up for anything, any kind of suggestions. We're trying to be creative with it. So
do we have a working group, Michael, or a
So-
committee?
So their regional group, the regional transportation directors stay in contact, and I'm assuming they're, I don't know if they're a formal group or whatever, but they have regional meetings and training and stuff. So we can certainly connect with that and see if there is anything out there to connect. But it becomes, when you have bus drivers, they're going to have to be local people, to be able to meet those demands and at the times and all those type of things. So it's just a difficult thing to do. We've talked about more money and those type of things, and it's just shortage of personnel. I mean, it comes down to that, just shortage of people that are interested. It's breaking up the day, the middle of the day, and it's difficult to find people that are willing to do that. So yeah, if you can come up with something, I'm all ears, and I'm sure Ben is as well.
Okay, so do you think that forming a local working group or task force around this might be a good idea?
So local as in Clearwater County, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, district-wide, yeah.
Sure. I think it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and do something. I'm not sure what our results will be, but we would know unless we tried.
Yeah,
So-
well, I think, it might be, Department of Labor would be a good member to have on a task force, because they, of course, have their fingers and information around workforce.
And we do
mobility.
communicate with them regularly about potential opportunities or possibilities. So yeah, and again, it's specialized training, and you have to do quite a few hoops to jump through, but not impossible for sure. It's just one of those things that we're just kind of in a lull right now.
Ben had several suggestions on things we
Mhm.
could do,
Yep.
obviously, in his report. And, maybe there's some things we could, take to heart there.
Right.
I was going to ask like how our pay compares to the region, and have we
That's a good
evaluated those
question.
kind of things?
He's done that, and we're not very far off. We're more than some and less than some. I mean, we kind of fall in the middle from if I remember correctly. So, I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, we can throw more money at it, but I'm not sure that's the answer. It's finding the
Okay.
people. Generally, and Ben may be on here. He can probably speak to the matter more. Is he on there somewhere? But, generally, and not always, but everywhere I've been, the population, we end up with a lot of retired folks that are looking for a part-time job. And with COVID, it pushed a lot of people away from that, understandably so. And recovering that has been difficult. So I think we're in that backside of that. My own personal opinion, I think we'll end up with some applicants as things continue to calm down. That's our hopes. So, but that was a big hit on us, when we're looking at with some people with a little bit more age and COVID right next to
That's
kids.
a good explanation.
Yeah.
of what happened.
Right or wrong.
Right.
I was also going to ask regarding transportation of your maybe summer plans for improving our loading zones, since that was an issue with their
Yeah. So
evaluation.
we continually get beat up on that.
Mhm.
And, it comes down to money again. And I know our loading zone at the elementary school, we have difficulties with, people coming across as they're, between buses, that type of thing. So we're looking at barriers. We've been pricing some barriers to put, especially out here at the elementary school. I know the high school, I don't recall was there an issue at the high school?
I think the same thing
Sidewalk
for
widening.
like it's in the middle of the parking lot
Mhm.
and people crossing over the busing
Right.
lanes, and then the drop off and pickup same thing
Right.
with not really
People
having a
crossing.
clear
Yeah.
zone.
And we've tried doing different things up there with that, and it's just not conducive to a good traffic flow because of the
Mhm.
way, it's designed. We tried numerous things last year and the year before. Since Mr. Lee's been here, I know we've tried different things, and they just continue to, there's holes in them. So, if we could get everybody to drop off up above and all of, but everybody has to walk around and get up there if they park in the lower parking lot, and there's not space to take buses up the other way and drop off as easily unless you're going around the building. And then you're talking about space issues, and it's a challenge at that one, especially. And it's really, geographical. I mean, it's just the location and the design of it is very difficult to do that. So we've tried barriers, and I know you guys have all hands on deck. I'm talking to Mr. Lee and Ms. Detweiler. I know there's people out there every day, and it's just really hard. We've staggered releases. We've tried lots of different things, but we just can't quite get that one cornered. So, yeah.
There's a gob of money that's going to be going to Children Pedestrian Safety Program, and it's a fund that's managed through the local Highway Technical Assistance Center. I think we should reach out to the gal there, Amanda Lamont is her name, and see whether a school district application to address that issue could be put together, and if she thought that would be competitive.
Sure. And like I said, I think we can eliminate a lot going on at the elementary school just by the way it's designed, by putting up barriers and training folks. We go through that, we train our parents, and then, some will want to go against the rules, and then next thing you know, the others follow. So it's just kind of the way it is. It ebbs and flows on that.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, the more we can do, the more we can do.
Certainly what we have at the elementary school is much better than
Oh,
what we
yeah.
had before.
Yeah, we've forgotten that.
Yeah.
We've forgotten a lot of
It was
those
a
things.
random drop off.
Yes, right along the street.
Get out of the car at your own risk.
That's right. Open the door and hope it didn't get taken off. Yes. Yep. I know. Yep.
So,
We have definitely forgotten that. And that works pretty well. We see the drop off lane being used, more and more and more,
Mhm.
and people backed up down Michigan Avenue and all that. But, there's ample room to pull over off to the side and be able to do that and pace them their way through. But the high school is a different story. It's just
Mhm.
one, two ways in and out, but they all two levels. It's hard. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, we can definitely look into what we can do. We've had lots of opinions on it, lots of experts, but we've never had anything resolve it.
Okay.
So, yep.
It would have been nice if whoever gave us that safety report also gave us good ideas to fix it, right?
There you go.
They tend to point out the knots, not the do's.
Mhm. Mhm. And then, let's see. Oh, I was going to ask also about the comment about the preschool kindergarten blend or something regarding that was in Mindy's report.
Yes. So if she's on here, she would probably is Mindy or Denise on here? Of course not. So, not a very big crowd.
Mhm.
So basically, we're looking at doing our own preschool program even more and more because we do have more enrollment. What we're finding in kindergarten, as we all know, is we're teaching, basically preschool the first semester and then kindergarten the second. That's kind of how it works a lot of times. So we're trying to pull that in and have more control over that. We still have that. We're still going to be linked up with the Head Start program, but for the kids who do not qualify for that, that number is becoming larger and larger. And especially, I believe, after last year, we're seeing more and more interest in that. And I think in the long run, we're going to see much more success on the kids very much more quickly. So we're basically pulling them into our building. And instead of, we were blended into preschool before to Head Start. So we had kids that were slots that we were going into Head Start, but they would allow us. Now we're pulling them into our own building, and we're going to try to go ahead and we'll have all of our own support systems and all that in place. So it'll be a much better, more consistent educational setting for those kids. So that, if that kind of makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So we'll still utilize right now. Ms. Leachman oversees the special ed part of that. So any kids with 504s or IEPs, so she'll be able to do that in the building as well. Currently, like I said, it's out with Head Start, and that just our resources have to go out there so we can what we're hoping is if we can, some of those kids that are, maybe behind in kindergarten, whenever they come in, we can kind of jumpstart them through this other program and not really put them in Head Start, but give them some of those skills so they can come right back into kindergarten. So let's hopefully get kids caught up. And then, vice versa. If you've got a preschooler that's ready to be advanced, they can blend in with the kindergarten a little bit more.
Mhm.
So. we're
This was
hoping-
just a random thought I had while you were
Yeah,
talking.
sure.
I hadn't put much thought into this, but what about doing like a kindergarten roundup earlier in the year? So you could identify the kids that need more work before they enroll in the fall.
So we do a kindergarten. We've already done one, I believe, haven't we? This year, this spring, we did one.
Usually it's in the spring though.
Yeah.
It's like April.
Yeah. So if you do it much earlier than that, you're not going to get hardly any participation.
Okay.
And also
far
you're
away.
not going to get good results because the kids can develop so quickly at that age, as you know.
That's true.
So as you get a 3-year-old that's going to, to a 4-year-old, they can go from, diapers to out of diapers. I mean, even literally in that amount of
Mhm.
time. So, there's a lot of differences there that we have to just kind of get as close as we can, but I don't know if there'd be an advantage or not. I'm not aware of that. So, yeah.
Do you see a disparity of the kids that come or tend to be more from the more affluent or educated or engaged families than those that are the ones with
No.
needs to those
No.
roundup?
No, I'd say it's pretty equal across the board.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And I think that covers all my questions. Did anybody have anything else? We'll move on to the superintendent report.
Yeah, remember what I put in here for sure. Oh yeah, so the funding, we're still in that. We finally got word from the legislator, and I don't know if you guys were paying much attention to what was going on, but the Senate is basically closed their session, and the House has just recessed, from what I understand. So they're leaving it open in case something comes up that they can reconvene without the governor's order to start another session. In the meantime, they did pass the K-12 budget. I still haven't heard if the governor signed it or not. I've been looking. Has anybody heard that? Because I haven't heard if they signed it or not. So we did get our worksheets from State Department of Education. So today we started in on that. And Brittany is new as our business manager. So she's getting her feet. I was going to say she's getting her feet wet, but she's in up to her eyeballs already. So there's a learning curve there. So we're getting things together. We just had a negotiations meeting just before this, and it went well. Greg was there as well, and we didn't have a full committee, so we didn't make any decisions, but we brought up a lot of concerns and issues. So looking at our funding right now, they did change several things, and I can just go through a couple things here if you want to bear with me on it.
Mhm.
So Julie Oberly, who is our state chief financial officer, took Tim Hill's place a couple years ago. She's about to pull her hair out because it's pretty late to be coming up with all the formulas, and that's a pretty big task. So if you get a chance to ever say thank you to her, she does a great job under a lot of pressure. That's a lot of doing. So last year, our state legislator, they said that we were going to receive $22,810 per support unit. What happened is they basically did a 10%, or that was a 10% holdback. I think that's what it was. So when they did that holdback, it made our support units go down to 22,810, and that's what we were to get all year. So in February, they came along and they said, we're going to put it back up to where it was the year before. So they supported us in February payment up to the 28, whatever it was. I can't even remember the number. But they put us up to that. Now our June and July payment, they're going to just hold us back down. So overall, we come out to 22,810. If that makes sense. So they started out low. They gave us more because they said, hey, we've got COVID money. We're going to go ahead and do this. They gave us more, and now they're going to drop us off to make the whole thing come out to 22,810. So it's going to be significantly less coming in June,
So
in our June payment.
the June payment will actually be lower than it even was in the fall.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So our support units are down. They also, so this year, fast forward to what just happened last week, is they passed legislation that said our support units will be funded at 29,542, which is a significant difference from the 22,810. So as we went through this whole process with Julie Oberly, she did a great job of explaining it. And there's so many factors in this that if you look at one of these spreadsheets, you see a spreadsheet full of all kinds of data, but behind it is about 10 of them or more that go really deep and big and wide that are just all kinds of factors over the years. The laws continue to change and they have to modify and piece it together. So basically she said this, she said, it comes down to the Fed or the state has always pulled from the rainy day fund to support public education to the tune of about 30 million annually. So that $30 million this year, the legislator said, we're not pulling from the rainy day fund for the next 2 years. And they passed a law that said they're not going to do that. So even though the legislator has fully funded us at 29,542 per support unit, Ms. Oberly told us to about that 30 million is about 8%. She said, plan on that not being accessed, and it's probably going to be an 8% reduction. She said, I can't guarantee that, but that's where our calculations are leading us in history, repeating itself over and over. If you look back at that.
So they'll tell us a number, but then not give us the money to support that
There
number.
you go.
And it'll be an 8% cut from a prior baseline.
Yes.
Okay.
So that makes that support unit at 8% down at about 27,178, which is actually less than the year prior to last year. So last year we were at 22,810. The year before, I think we were at 28 something. And this year we'll be at 27,178 if that 8% holds. So what does that amount to? That amounts to about a $200,000 decrease in our funding if you do that 8%. Now, with that said, they are fully funding the career ladder for salaries for certified staff. They're increasing. They gave us an increase of 2% on classified and administration. So when you go through all those figures, especially the certified, we were just talking about those. I've got those numbers. Hang on. I just did that. My last meeting. So my preliminary numbers, and this was just going through today with, and by no means is this set in stone. So I want to do that disclaimer first, but my first preliminary indications are that, so this year, the state will give us about 4.4 million towards certified salaries. Last year, they gave us about 4.268. So it's 4.411 and 4.268 million. The revenue this year is about 3.78 from the state. And last year was about 3.614. So the difference in those is it's cost the district last year about 654,000. It cost the district this year about 626,000. So they closed that gap a little bit. But when you look at all that, there's an increase. We have to pay Percy and FICA and Medicaid or Medicare, and that ends up another $68,000 on top of that. Salary increases were about 142,000, so the increase is about 210,000 for us this year. So with that said, that 210,000 that is increasing, we also have about a $64,000 increase in insurance if we kept everything exactly the same. Again, this is all in negotiation, so we're not to that point yet. I just shared this information with them just at the meeting before. So we kind of have a jumping off point. So really what we're looking at on our finances this year is, it looks like it'll almost be a wash whenever you look at all of it. But depending on, how much we do as far as raises, for classified and administration and certified, that'll make all the difference in the world. But it looks like it's going to come out pretty darn close, which is great news. But if you pull that 8% off there, that's going to make a struggle with all of our other. So support units support basically everything but the salaries. So there's all these other general things, and there's a million pieces to it, but it's based on our attendance and our ADA, and our ADA was down this year. So that number total dollar, I haven't been through that yet, but will obviously be less if our ADA is down. So there'll be a little bit of shortfall on that, but I don't foresee significant shortfalls in any of it.
Were they going to, I remember somebody mentioning that they were going to use our AD from the year prior in order to skip the COVID
Yeah.
holdouts to homeschooling and those kind
Yes.
of things.
So the law says currently that they're going to use the prior year's ADA, and they pass that again to use 2 years prior, basically next year. So that will help us. That'll keep us fairly consistent, but that was a little bit lower than the year prior.
Mhm.
Not a huge amount, but a little bit. So we should be okay with that. My worry is they're going to go back in session and change something again, because you just never know what's going to happen. So one of the things that was continuously pushed out there was the COVID relief money, all the CARES money, and that was to go to the local schools. And I've had this conversation with you guys before, but the ESSER 2 money, the ESSER 1 money basically offset whatever the original holdback was, but then we couldn't use it for that. We had to use it for specific things, such as COVID related. So we ended up being short. The next thing that came out was the ESSER 2 funds, which was about 844,000, if I remember right. What they did is they basically said, okay, this is going to be yours for whatever you need to do with it. And then they said, no, wait, we're still holding back. Use that. So they allocated half of that for this year's fund, for this year's budget, and they cut us that money. So even though they say they fully funded us this year, they did not. The feds ended up making up the difference. The other half is supposed to go for next year to make up for that difference. And then the ESSER 3 money, which is the larger sum, which is that 1.9 million or whatever it is. I'll have to find that number again. But basically 80% of that can be used basically however we want. And then 20% of it has to go to learning loss. And there's some rules on learning loss, things like summer school, other programs that we want to create that this has to do with learning loss. So it's pretty wide variety of things, but we can be creative with that. And we haven't really sat down to discuss what we're going to do with that at this point. They allocated that first half of that, which was about 990,000. It was the 80%, and then like 200 and some thousand was the 20%. But we can't have access to that until July 1. And then the other half of it goes to next year. So what they basically said is, we're going to give you this money, but we're not going to give you what we would originally give you in the budget. And that was the talk we heard over and over again, was that the COVID money was going to be used to supplant what the state was going to do. And the state was going to take our piece of the money and use it elsewhere. So it's pretty complicated, and there's a lot of moving parts, but overall it'll pretty well come out as the wash. I think with this ESSER 3 money, we'll be okay, because I think we'll come out a little bit ahead. But again, if we're doing some big projects, it'll go pretty quickly. So there was my funding report. You
Okay.
need more? You guys can wake up over there.
But you did say that they were fully funding the career ladder with
Yes.
an advancement for where they should be.
Yes, so everybody will be fully funded. So that's what I said in negotiations. My goal is to put everybody where they're supposed to be, which is really moving up 2 places.
Mhm.
And then doing our benefits, salaries, our benefits, insurance, keeping it the same with the 80% family and fully. So that's doable.
Mhm.
And that's my goal. We'll see, obviously it goes in negotiations, but that's what I'm pushing for. And I haven't made that a secret. I want to support them. So we'll do what we can with that.
And then the concern will be this potentially 8% holdback for
Yes.
the rest of our budget.
Yep. And that will probably be a 2-year thing, because they will not pull from the rainy day fund for 2 years.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So numbers.
But in theory, if we're using some of the SR 3 money towards maybe building projects,
Mhm.
then that saves us money out of our budget
Yes.
to put towards that.
And that's really we can utilize it for adding on those type of things, so we can add more spaces because it's COVID related as well. So they're pretty loose with those guidelines on the ESSER 3, a lot more loose in the ESSER 2 and the ESSER 1. So they've got a little bit more loose each time. So yeah, that would be, if we're going to do something, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but if we're going to do something, this is the time to do it, because we have that's outside of our budget type money. I know it's pricey, but it would take the sting out of it, because we need to do something anyway. So anyway, yeah, questions. And as we get through this, we'll keep you posted. So I think we've got a pretty good handle on it. Like I said, Brittany is still learning, Jessica's still learning. So we're new in there, and they're doing a great job. Their eyes are pretty big right now, and but they're getting there. So
Okay.
we're gaining.
Okay.
So a question from the budgeting standpoint, then, our role is merely to review and approve what is presented.
So typically that is correct. If there's anything that you guys have input on as well. Generally, about 85% of our budget comes down to salary and benefits. And a big portion of that with 80 certified employees negotiating for that. That's a pretty big chunk of money, about 4.5 million, I guess, on salaries. And we spend about 2.2 million on benefits every year. So we have a fairly small budget to work with on, projects and those type of things every year, and maintenance and just those routine things. So, curriculum, of course, and some of those other things.
Thank you.
Shall we continue our discussions? Sounds like
Yeah.
that
Is
was
there anything
the
else you
financial
had
discussion.
questions on
Nothing.
my other? Okay.
Are the staff doing okay not having those contracts final yet?
Yeah, I just talked to the negotiations team, and I just mentioned that today.
Mhm.
And with as close as now that we have numbers and where we're working right towards the budget, it just makes more sense. We've got to have them in their hands by June 30th is the law.
Okay.
So they seemed okay. I
Okay.
keep reiterating that we already approved that. It's in board minutes. We have the lists. I mean, we can,
Mhm.
it's, if anybody has any questions, they're hired for next year.
Mhm.
It's the matter of amount, and we're hoping to move them where they're supposed to be. So I try to convey that message. And so far, I mean, I think
Everybody's
people are
okay?
understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right. And then do you want to skip back to the board training, the spring leadership?
Sure. So you guys, did anybody sign up for that?
It was cool. Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah.
So
that's
this
good.
just a chance to report out, I guess, is the main thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Any
put it on there.
highlights? Things that you took away that you'd want to make sure everybody knew?
I think the one thing that I heard, and it was great because we kind of sat together and had a little group discussion, but
Yeah.
was some disclosure and information in relationship to hiring. There's going to be a legislative update the fourth Wednesday in May, which I think is next Wednesday, where they're going to go into detail about Senate bills and House bills that passed and the impact that they'll have on us. But there is one that I thought was really interesting in relationship to a denial of attendance and some changes that the legislature made through Senate Bill 116A in relationship to our role and policy. There were some interesting things around disclosure, and it was a learning experience for me in relationship to ethics, behavior, practices, from the standpoint of a board member, and they're definitely policy wonks. And they said that, you don't need to have a policy to have a policy, but they kept going back to having performance norms and performance standards and sort of understanding amongst board members and the public about everything from behavior and ethics. And it was a lot on social media posting. It sounded like some board members across the state have made some pretty silly mistakes in social media posting, and coming up with sort of normalized behavior and standards for the board, so that then there was some accountability and consequence on negative behavior. That was kind of interesting for me. And they really talked about having recommending that boards establish some goals and have them be clearly defined and measurable, with measurable objectives. So those were the takeaways that I had.
There's quite a bit about open meeting law.
Mhm.
and practical things about that.
Mhm.
Just little things like I've been getting my correspondence from ISBA on my personal email, So I changed that today. You're not supposed to do that. So it was just refreshing.
Good.
A lot of
The
things that
details.
we have had to deal with for the last year and a half.
Mhm.
And sometimes not knowing what to do. And
Mhm.
it was really helpful. We were really, like Chris said, we were pretty excited to just kind of talk things over together. So
Good.
I think it was quite helpful.
Good. And speaking of the board goals, we do go through a board review process with those board goals every year. Gosh, it usually is sometime around late spring, summer, because when everybody's out of session, that's usually when we take a few minutes to kind of reflect on what we're doing, what our goals are, how are we doing, what do we need to improve. So we'll add that on to the meeting here in the next month or two. And we'll kind of have everybody else, we'll send out a board review of ourselves. You kind of
Mhm.
review yourself, your board as a whole, and then we talk about it through an executive session. So
Great.
And-
Could you send me the goals for this past year?
they were probably from 2 years
Yeah.
ago. We did not address that last year.
Survival.
It was a little
Yeah,
different last
that
year.
was the
We had a
goal.
little different focus.
We're still focusing on
And,
that goal.
We've had a lot of board turnover too.
We
Last
did.
year was too
did.
early to actually really do any
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
reviews of a 3-month stint.
Mhm, yeah.
So and we were doing a lot of board training last year at that time. So we skipped that other process. So
And just so you guys are kind of aware, I'm in that process with our leadership team. We're going through kind of setting some long-term goals for the district and for individual buildings. And as we go through that, you guys obviously are included with that. And then we can blend some of those back to you guys and some from you guys back our direction as well. So I think you'll find they're all right in line with each other but we haven't got that done yet. We started that a month ago or maybe a little bit more, and we're just touching on it every chance we get, but giving some thought time on it too. So, and there's been some things come out of it. One of the things we talked about was, and we've discussed with you guys a lot, was test dates and those type of things, for our monitoring and those type of things that we talked about with the MAPS test and all. And that was the next thing on here. But so there have been some goals set of trying to simplify and clarify those type of things for us. And I think we have done a few of those. So that was, some of those things, Chris, you might have missed out on, prior to COVID that we were trying to do and put in place. And some of those things have come through, but it's time to do more. There's no doubt.
okay. So do you want to go ahead and talk a little more about testing dates?
Sure. So what I've asked them to do is we sit down and kind of came up with the actual, ranges that we want to do fall, winter, and spring testing with our MAP testing. And Mindy actually put these together, I think, working with the principals and trying to get some consistent dates. And my request or ask was to just have it consistent throughout the district. So we're not doing one in August and one in October, and then we'll do the next school, in September, whatever it might be. We wanted to have some test windows so we're consistent across the district. So you guys and me, district-wide, we have some consistent data to look at. So that's what came up with, and those are on the calendar for next year. So we have that accomplished.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And then COVID operational plan?
Yeah, and I put this on here because we've constantly, obviously every meeting we wanted to talk about it. There have been a few CDC changes, but not for schools, but
Mhm.
for other public entities. So
Mhm.
that has remained the same for where we're at with our schools. And currently, as I track the numbers, I didn't print my big long graph off this time, but I've been looking every day and logging those. I just didn't do it, but we've had 1 to 3 per day of either quarantined or home, and those are reported. Now, keep in mind those are reported. Many days when's the last time we met? 2 weeks ago, or was it 3? 2
3.
weeks? I can't remember,
Mhm.
but we had several days we had 0. But whenever you have quarantine, obviously those go a little bit longer. So, and personnel, very few. So, like 1 a week, I think, is what we've had. And I don't think we had anything currently. we have anything
So
in the
it's not
building?
1 to 3 per day.
No, well, that kind of equates to that, yes, because whenever you're in quarantine, obviously it's a little longer than just your home a day. So same people's multiple days, they can overlap, but yeah, most cases we've had 1 or 2. 3 is a rarity right now.
And then the Timberline classroom build?
Yeah, so I talked to Jerry today, and he did not have the plans completely done. So we'll go down here on our action item. He sent me an email, and I'll pull that up, but he had some dates. I think the 23rd is what he told me that the completion date would be. And he had a little schedule on that. So let me pull that up real quick. He said, advertise. This is what he sent me when I asked if he had anything to share with the board. He said, advertise, and I can send this to you guys. Advertise on May 23rd. Advertise again on the 30th. Pre-bid meeting on June 4th, and bids due June 14th.
So advertise for the bid.
On the 23rd. Yes. Yep.
So May 23rd.
Yep. So, right. So that's what I told him. Yes. Yeah. And we can do that. I mean, we won't have to gather. We can do that via Zoom. I have to have one member, but we could do that, over the phone or whatever to approve it. But I want to get it to you guys so you have a chance to look at it, and then we do need to discuss it. So that's why I told him, like, I was planning on today, but he couldn't get it done. So
I noticed on the financials that we had paid for a feasibility study, and then that we had also given him $5,000. Was
Yeah.
it for the initial
Yes.
contracting him?
yeah, well, so
Okay.
we contracted him 3,500 initially to do the study,
Right.
and then he went
I
over a
understand that.
bunch on different hours and all that, and then we have contracted with him. So it ended up being 5,000 on the first.
So we have a contract with him.
I haven't signed anything, but through email we've agreed to,
Okay.
and you guys approved that last time. So
Right.
I think that all comes with the package whenever he gets it
Okay.
ready to present, from what I understood.
These bid dates, is there any reason they have to be those specific dates?
He had the 23rd, so he could put it in this Sunday's paper, is what he had written down here in parentheses. Yeah. Yeah. It says advertise on the 23rd, the Sunday's paper in parentheses, and then advertise again on the 30th, pre-bid meeting, June 4th. Bids due on the 14th.
So we need to get the list of materials from him so that we can have the conversations with
Yes.
possible providers.
Yeah. And I asked him that today, and he said that they were finalizing that, and that was part of this trying to get, because they were working on the electrical side of it, is where they were kind of getting hung up and making sure, because they've been working with a Vista up there.
Yeah.
And meeting with them, because they're gonna have to rearrange some poles and things up there. So that kind of set them back just a little bit. But
Yeah, late last week I gave him Chad's contact information.
Yep.
And yeah, so it would be best if we had all of our ducks lined up on materials, gifting, costs for
Right.
the bid tour.
Yep, agreed.
Okay.
Yep, I will stay in touch with him, and I'll keep you guys in the loop. We just had that conversation this afternoon. So
It's a 2-week open bid, correct?
10 days is all
10
we're
days.
required. Yeah.
So this pre-bid meeting on this first do you think, I'm just trying to think, his advertisement will be a bid is coming,
Mhm,
right? So
yes.
that doesn't have to be approved.
No.
So we actually have until
Yes.
June 1st to actually
Yes.
approve the bid,
Correct.
or to approve the proposal.
Yes.
And then later when the bids come in, we approve the bid.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So we've got more time.
he can advertise and say, hey, we're going to have a pre-bid meeting, and the package is coming,
Mhm.
and then we'll approve the package that he's presenting.
Mhm.
And then
Around
from there. Yeah.
June 1st.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
So
it'll
we
be a
still have a couple
mandatory
weeks then,
bid.
We'll have to have another meeting, obviously.
Yeah.
but there is a couple weeks in
Yeah.
there for everybody to finish up their
Yes.
stuff. Okay.
Yep. What did you say, Chris? Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So it'll be a mandatory pre-bid. They have to show up to be able to bid.
I don't know if he's making it mandatory or not. I don't know if he's given options. I didn't get that far with him today. So I'll find out for sure. I would think even just, we could probably do it electronically or whatever. We could probably get him set up for that if he wanted to, come here or wherever it might be, to give more options, more opportunities. we'll see how that goes. I'll get more information to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion, questions?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm going to keep moving us if that's okay.
That's okay.
Because I know
Sounds good.
Yep.
we have some more stuff to do tonight. So action items. First one is the COVID operational plan. We,
I move we stay the course with the current COVID operational plan.
Okay, I'll second that.
it's been moved and seconded to continue the current COVID operational plan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And then policy updates that
Right,
we don't have this
Yep.
time.
I was supposed to get them back, but I haven't got them back yet. So that one will be tabled.
Leadership
brought up next time.
stipends.
Yeah, so I sent you guys a list and these are the links.
Mhm.
So we had this discussion last meeting, I believe, didn't we, about the leadership stipends? Basically, the state said, we're giving you this leadership stipends. They reinstated them this year, but it was late in the year. So what we did is we came up with a plan, our leadership team did, and we sent out surveys to teachers, and they had to justify based on law, what was it, A through G or H, A through H. We listed those out and they had to be able to justify what they'd done to support that. The administrators reviewed those. These are the lists. So if I look through all of that, the leadership stipends. So we receive $850 per FTE. There's 79 FTE that qualify. Administrators do not. So that gives us about 67,150 available. We had 55 members, 55 FTEs that qualified for that, and that comes up to 1,220.91 each. So, and I will double calculate that again. I ran through that pretty fast today, but it seemed pretty simple at the time. Just make sure I got all of them right. So,
Okay.
so I would recommend that we approve those, and you have the list and a summary there as well. And
Is this the same as a time and district type thing?
no, this is.
Something different.
Yeah, so A through H is basically, those are things that are above and beyond contracted hours.
Okay.
So if they're receiving a stipend for something, they could not qualify for this. So there's a lot of things such as tutoring or peer mentoring, those type of things that take place, and they had to justify all those. We generally do that in October,
Mhm.
and that will be coming up. So one of the other caveats to this is if we didn't use it this year, we would lose it next year. So
Oh,
whatever
okay.
piece we don't use, we would lose next year. So
So we
we
wanna
need
use
to
it.
use, yeah,
Mhm.
because it's a good thing to be able to send out to our teachers, because they, doing a lot above
For
and
those who
beyond.
work extra.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep. And they have to justify it. We have forms and stuff. Our normal protocol is they have to submit a plan of what they're going to do, and then they check off the hours and justify it.
And so hopefully if they approve the leadership stipend again next year,
It's been approved.
then it has been already for
Yes.
next year.
Yep.
So then we can do it in the fall like we normally do.
Yes.
And then have everybody.
Yes. It's generally done in
Apply
our
for that.
October because it's due at the end of October.
Mhm.
We have to turn it into the state because the governor has to have a report in December.
Mhm.
It's part of the law. So, but this year, for some reason, he didn't need that. So imagine that.
Executive.
That's right. So,
And
yeah.
this was a proposal that you basically leveled the playing field amongst those eligible, correct?
Yes. Yep. We sent a survey out to every single certified staff and allowed every single person the opportunity to do that, to participate and justify. Yes.
So you need a motion to approve this, Michael?
Yes, this would be something that needs to be board approved. Anything dollar wise that goes out to people has to be approved.
I'll move that we approve the leadership stipends as presented.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the leadership stipends as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And just for the record, those will go out in the June payments. We get paid for it in June, so those will go out with the June paychecks.
So we will skip number 4.
We'll just keep you posted and we'll have meetings as necessary.
And then moving on to our classified renewals.
it's a list, a lot of
It is.
people. We employ a lot of classified and certified people, about 200.
So maybe I'm seeing it a little different, but my list is very short.
Mine was
So
too.
I'm
There's
going to
lots
ask
of
you,
tabs. There's lots
it's
of
tabs. Okay.
Oh.
at the
Because I
bottom.
was going to clarify
Yeah.
why the list was so
Yeah.
short.
Printed
So I have to
mine.
scroll down.
We certainly did not fire all of them.
Okay. I'm glad I
We would
asked.
not function tomorrow.
Oh, I see. I got
There's
it.
tabs.
Different
Got it?
department tabs on the bottom.
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
We
that makes
bro-
me feel better.
We break
Thank
them
you.
down by classified and certified at each location because we're funded different for each one. So,
There we go.
Yep.
All right, I feel better now.
and Jessica's been through them
It's like,
several
who's going to
times.
run
and
our
I have
schools
too,
next
so,
year?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's- We need the bus drivers, we need the cooks, we need the custodians, paras, you name it, everybody.
Yep.
Did I miss anyone? Secretaries? I could go on. We need everybody.
So this, I mean, this is what we have now. We're just saying, yes, we're going to continue on.
Yes. Yes. So classified employees are at-will employees. This is our good faith effort of saying your job is continuing. We can't offer contracts. We only offer terms. Does that make sense?
So we have certified lists as well,
Yes. So those are all just one spreadsheet, but it's the classified
but we're only
tabs.
approving the
Yep.
classified.
Yep, we already
tonight.
approved the
Yep.
certified. Yep,
Okay, that
we
makes more
just-
sense too.
We just keep them on the same spreadsheet so we can work with it. I
Okay.
could take those tabs off if you want, but
No, it's
it's only
fine,
classified
as
tonight.
long as we're proving the right thing.
Yep.
And just process wise, so you negotiate with them related to salary level?
So the law states we only are negotiating with certified personnel only,
Oh, okay.
not classified.
And-
But I will do a side note and a disclaimer that the certified people around the table are always looking out for the classified as well. It's whatever we do for certified, we do for classified. It's
Mhm.
pretty typical.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you said already that they did approve a 2% increase,
They did. That's what we're getting funded from the state.
Mhm.
We haven't done anything.
but then the
Yes.
negotiations will determine what that actual
Correct.
percentage is. Okay.
Correct. So right now, if everything stood where it was, just kind of a hypothetical, all of our certified would move to where they're supposed to be, and all the classified and administrators would get 2%,
Mhm.
and then pay all of them. That's ideal.
Mhm.
So yeah,
But right now, we're not talking about dollar figures.
Correct.
We're talking about
This-
FTEs.
correct. Personnel. Yep.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct.
So we're approving them for rehire, and then
Yes.
later when we have the contracts finished, then we will approve those contracts.
Terms for
Terms of
classified.
contracts.
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
Yep. So yes, once you approve them,
Mhm.
the classified, yes, we will put the terms out. Whatever percentage. So basically, whatever percentage increase we say we're going to do,
Mhm.
then we'll put the terms out accordingly.
So we're talking about FTEs
Yes.
and individuals, or just FTEs?
FTEs and what was the second part?
Individuals, people?
So we're talking about individuals on the list.
Okay.
We are offering those positions to the people.
Okay. I just wanted clarification there.
Nope, that's okay.
So I move that we approve the list of classified term renewals as presented.
Perfect.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the classified term renewals as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's good. Now we can have school
Yes.
next year.
So new hires and separations.
Yeah, that list is down below as well on there.
Mhm.
Well,
So
one of
has
these
Annette,
is,
retired?
Pardon me.
Has
What'd you
Annette retired?
Yes, back,
Okay.
she submitted her resignation back in the late fall, somewhere around there.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes. I don't recall exactly. It might have been December or January, but somewhere in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
we don't see a new teacher hired that often. But so I just wanted to know if maybe you could tell me a little bit about her or tell us a little bit about her.
Mm,
Probably not.
Not in an
Yeah.
open meeting. We can't. So if there's,
Well, then I'd like to see some information. on it. How's that?
We can do that.
I appreciate that. I always do that, don't I?
That's
To
okay.
you.
Nope.
yep, good call.
Yep.
So, and just for the board members to know how this works, if there's ever a person on the list that you see ahead of time, that's why we look at the agenda beforehand.
Sure.
If there's somebody that you have a concern about or you want to know about, you call Dr. Garrett and then he can give you the
Okay.
information about the person, if there's any concerns
Right.
that you might need to discuss or,
I didn't have
Yeah.
any concerns. I just was
Yeah.
interested in who this new teacher is.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and earlier, right after negotiations, he was asking me about the process about hiring as well, so he's trying to learn all those ropes. And I was telling him, he thought I hired them. I'm like, yeah, I don't. Yeah. I do,
Yeah.
but yeah. I
and
leave that
we
up to the
sign off
builder.
on it,
Yes.
but yet we don't do the work.
Yeah, I would. And maybe how many people applied for this
Sure.
job?
Sorry. So our process for hiring is that we convene a committee
Right.
for the hiring, and that committee stays confidential with the hiring process, so that if there's in-district or out-of-district applicants, we'd try to maintain that confidentiality in that process. We look at not only certifications, because especially at the secondary setting, you have to have certain certifications in order to meet what are called IC codes, to be able to offer credit-bearing classes for the students that are required by the State Department. And
Right.
so we do an initial vetting process. Jessica Fugate's been great at getting us a linked portfolio rather than us printing all these out and distributing them to the committee. We now have the
Nice.
ability to go in and we have a shared folder that we can look at all of the applicants for any specific position. We then go through and review those applicants, and then we interview as a team. And then we process that information. Ultimately, I make the decision, or Mrs. Tetweiler, if it's for one of her content areas, because we have those split out by evaluation. And so ultimately we make that decision, make the recommendation to the district office through the recommendation form. Dr. Garrett looks at it, Jessica looks at it and make sure we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's, and then it comes to the board for submission on that.
Good.
And we do that,
District
with
wide.
everything. We try to do that. I mean, we do that everywhere. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So we have a committee involved with that. And, they're communicating with me a lot, the principals do on, what the committee is doing and their views and those type of things. And we brainstorm on that, make sure that we're covering our bases and checking references and stuff. But ultimately it's the building decision. That's the culture that they're setting, and
that.
we put
Yeah.
trust in that. So yeah,
Good job.
they
Thank you.
do a good job. All of them do a good job of hiring like
Yeah.
that.
Appreciate that,
Yeah.
Brian.
And we do have that same process from the top down. So we do the same thing for, principals, superintendents, all the administrators. So, yep.
There was a lot of discussion at the training last week about hiring and board awareness about
Right.
who the district was hiring. So
Mhm. Yeah, and we have, the applicants, they're available. We can show names of applicants to anybody. We just can't show their history or their details. So we can give a name, or their resume, so to speak. So, so we can give that list at any time, and we have that on here. It's available to district office if anybody asks, but they'll only get a list of names. Now, you guys, if we want to go a little deeper, obviously we have executive sessions and things like that. We can, and if you have individual questions, we can do that as well.
Okay.
So, and all that ends up being confidential information, obviously.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Can I get a motion to
Yeah,
approve?
I'll move that we accept the new hires and separations as they're listed here.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the new hires and separations as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. we are going to adjourn into an executive session here shortly. I do want to, since that will probably take a while, we will be coming back into open meeting to make a motion from that executive session.
Yes.
However, if we have any board member input for future agenda items, now would be a great time in open session while people are still participating. And we'll just move that one forward.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like to take a deep dive into the engagement survey that was done and have conversations about how we can improve engagement and also to celebrate the great engagement that we're having.
We just did some PD on that. So we might share that. I wonder if I could get that for them. Was that closed down or do we still have that link? I'm asking Brian. Do you recall?
Yeah, so we can provide the engagement data as well as the PD that we received, I know, on how to take a
Interpret
look at
it,
that
and yeah.
data, what that actually represents. There are some descriptors on that that help give you an idea of what that represents. But
I
that's
think
one of the things that Dr. Garrett has us working on in leadership in the formulation of our district goals through the systems accreditation.
So we were kind of a guinea pig from Cognia. They created some new professional development on interpretation of the engagement survey, and there were only two districts in the state that of Idaho that were allowed to do that or asked to do that, and we were one of them. So we put our teachers, I think all of them have been through it at this point, I believe. There's an online training that I can certainly send you guys a link. It'd be interesting for you guys to see that, and you'll get to see the data as well. I can send you that information. There's kind of a new way of interpreting it with some new words and new definitions, and makes you think about it from a different perspective than the traditional engagement survey. So it'll be some good stuff for you guys. I'll definitely get that out to you.
I also think it would be really interesting to learn more about your thoughts on vertical integration. I think the preschool and kindergarten is the foundation of that. And I know that you had discussion about that with your team, and I think it would be kind of fun to learn. Are there things that we need to be thinking about in relationship to that?
Absolutely. There's always things to think about on that, for sure.
Thank you.
So I was going to make a suggestion. I know that usually July, the administrators are gone and enjoying a little bit of summertime. And in August, we're gearing up for the school year, and there's a lot of stuff going on. My thought was, well, maybe in June, we could meet a little bit before the meeting. If they can hang around just a few days after school's out. It's that Monday following the end of, no, it might be a whole week after. It's a whole week after school is out. And maybe have a leadership meeting before the regular board meeting, just to kind of catch up on some of the things that were we finishing off for the year, like maybe the data information that kind of helps us work towards our goals for next year. Maybe hit on 3 topics, and you name those topics now, but just maybe an hour meeting to hit on 3 topics of, okay, this was the year, this was what we did, whether it be engagement, data, whatever, safety, all kinds of options, but just hit on a few topics to summarize the year that will help us move towards our board goals for the next year and our improvement plan. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Because I know
Absolutely.
it's amazing how fast the summer goes.
Yeah.
And once August hits, everybody's a little bit tearing their hair out trying to get ready for the new
Well,
year.
I think, right now, we're planning deep into next year. The district office, and that comes right back down into these guys at the building level within the next week or two. They're still doing that, but they're usually a few weeks behind. So by that time, we'll have some of our goals set and, for each building. So what I've asked them to do, just so you guys are kind of apprised of that, is I've asked them to set goals in their building. We're going to look at district-wide goals as our leadership team, some things that are obtainable and doable based on our accreditation and our engagement surveys and some of those things. And then their own building goals that tie into that. And then, of course, their own individual building goals as well. So we want to honor the cultural differences and the needs of each building, but yet have more things district-wide. So one thing that keeps coming up a lot, even with our negotiations, is the common professional development. So it's consistent across the buildings. And I think District Day has helped a lot with that because we have had some pretty consistent success and some vertical and lateral input from everybody, and I collaboration. I think it's been a great experience, but I'm looking at it from a district perspective whenever I'm, that's my world more. So the feedback I've been getting is it's successful and we need to do more of that. So maybe we can coordinate more of our Friday PD days across the district. So we'll see how things go with that, but that's definitely on our radar.
Okay. So my thought was maybe a quick kind of end of year wrap up in June, and then in July we'll hit our board stuff for our board surveys and goals, and then August we'll hit the road running. Okay.
So I've told all the administrators, I'm going to tell them again, so it's recorded here on this July. I don't want to see them very much because I have work to do
Mhm.
and they need to take a break.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
because last year there was no break
Mm.
between, because we were planning to get
Yeah,
back and it was
everybody was working hard on the new
all
COVID
through the
plans
whole
and everything.
summer. It was
Mhm.
constant. So, do you hear me? Yeah. Shaking his head no.
Oh, and then my one last plug is for anybody who might be listening to this later. COVID vaccine available for children 12 and up. If you are interested in getting your kid vaccinated, please call the clinic. They're going to make a list of names so that they can start vaccinating kids in groups. We have to do it in groups of 6, and they'll plan like a vaccine day based on how many kids they get signed up. So hopefully we can do that in the next week or two and get some of these kids vaccinated before the school year next year. That's
So
all
I
I
think
have.
last time we went in executive session, I don't think anybody made a motion to go in
We do
executive
need to make a
session.
motion.
Not sure.
I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session.
I'll second.
I'm gonna say pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206,
I will say
1
that
A and
too.
B.
A and B.
Okay. So
Okay,
it's
amen.
been moved and seconded to move into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206, 1 A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chris,
Should
you
do a
there?
roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Aye.
Okay, so now we're gonna do a
Yeah,
roll
roll
call
call vote,
for
sorry.
yay or nay.
Jessica, you
Jessica?
on there?
They might all be muted.
She stepped away. I can do the roll call, or you can do the roll call.
I can do roll
Yep.
call. Okay, so
Just write it down so we have it.
trustee Saint Germain,
Present.
we need a yes or a no, or yay or a nay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm here. My computer died.
No worries.
I'm so sorry. Okay. Trustee Robinson,
Yes.
trustee Giroux,
Yes.
and trustee Saint Germain.
Yes.
All right.
Do I need to go through the others or no?
No,
No.
no, that's okay.
They're
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris.
Thank you.
Saint Germain, we're going to step into another room, so we're out of everybody's way. Would you mind calling my cell phone and we'll do speakerphone that way?
Not at all.
Okay, perfect. So go ahead and get that called. And if I can't get you, I'll get back to you on this.
Okay.
Call me.
Thanks for coming. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're going in. Oh, sorry.
You did? Jessica, you still there?
I am.
Didn't hear her, but I saw her.
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting ready to come back in from executive session here, so just kind of winding things up
Okay.
or down, whichever.
Hey, Jessica, while I have you, can you add my email to the school board association list?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Not that I really needed another email
ready.
list. That training was cool. There was some interesting things.
Oh, great.
Or what? Yeah. You guys are on air, by the way. We're coming back from executive session.
We'll be good.
I know you will. Executive session. It's 9:19.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for a motion from the executive session.
I'll bring forth a motion from the executive session that student 2021C be expelled with the stipulations that we discussed in the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
So it's been moved and seconded to expel student 2021C with the stipulations discussed. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then if there's nothing further, we will adjourn the meeting.
Looking
Okay.
for a special meeting coming up for the bid review in June,
In
in end of May.
late May.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Late May.
I'll get that out as soon as we decide the dates at work.
Thank you. And everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Night.